Do you see this ring? Well, I have absolutely, positively no faith in this ring. I wanted to get into segmented turning of wood, and despite what some of my metalworking cohorts laugh at me, but I like working with wood, at least in the round on the lathe, and some carving and whatnot. So that's a nice break from the metal side of things. So I started researching segmented turning, and I said, wow, they make some pretty nice stuff using wood segments of varying species and so forth, and sizes and geometries, and you could turn out some beautiful things. I mean, just check it out. But here's a kicker. You need to make perfect segments. And as you can see, these are anything but perfect. And this was a product of best effort. I mean, you could see the gaps here, you know, and all over. And this is held in with the hose clamp. You know, look at this. Look at this. That's never going to glue together. It's ridiculous. I have no faith. No faith at all in that thing. It's useless. And basically what I tried to do is I was hearing about all of these angles and dangles and everything. And I said, well, hell, I have a made in China miter gauge to go on my made in China Porter cable bandsaw. It's a 14-inch bandsaw. So I said, I'll just set an angle with my old, where is it here? Digital protractor. I got one of these digitometers, right, for setting angles. It's pretty damn accurate. No good. No good at all. And this was the result. This is the result. And there's a multitude of factors here why that is. For one thing, when you put said Chinese miter gauge into said Chinese table on said Chinese bandsaw, I love the Chinese, okay? But there's probably, I'd say about 6 thousandths worth of slop in there. Being that, and the miter slot is also kind of weird. As you can see, it's not a straight 3/8 by 3/4 inch slot. It is a T slot with the bearings. It's about 640 from here to here, and you know, this is the money side. This is what's ground. This is just still cast down here. So it's just a shit piece of crap. So it's good for cutting a quick 90, but outside of that, if you're going to do segments, you remember this is only an 8-segment ring. If you make an error of 1 degree, you're compounding it 16 times, and your final result will be horseshit. So I'm on YouTube and I'm looking, and guys are saying, well, what you got to do is you got to do half at a time. You have to break this at the 180 mark with popsicle sticks when you glue it together, and then you got to put these on a disc sander after they're dry and true up the ends so you take the error out. And I'm saying, all right, well, it's not a bad idea. Now I got to go out and buy a disc sander. Somebody else said, well, you can't cut them on a bandsaw, you have to cut them on a table saw. Well, I don't have a table saw. I don't want a table saw. Table saw would take up space that my milling machine would have. So the milling machine is more important than a table saw. I have a freaking saw. Why can't I do this? Well, I stumbled across a guy on YouTube by the name of Jerry Bennet. And he has a company. His video is in the link. I think it's called Sled Easy or Sledge Easy or Wedge Easy or something. But anyway, his idea is to come up with a sled. A sled that has 2 rails. And how this works, the theory of operation here, is he makes wedgies, which are triangular pieces of plastic to varying degrees, but the whole theory is here. The theory is everything rests between the angles of these rails. So when you put this is a 30-degree triangle, for example. So when I put that in there and lock them down, now I have a perfect included angle. You have to cut in a certain way with these things. In my case, the blade is on this side. This is my track that I made out of birch ply. And you see these little scroogey-mawagis in here. That is to, when you put this in the T-slot, that is to tighten up any slack. There is no shake here. So this thing is just dead nuts true to your blade. Now my slots are not the prettiest slots in the world, because another thing I don't have is a router. But I used a Dremel, and they work just fine. So you can get any angle on these. Like I said, this isn't the prettiest one, but the concept is there. You could go from 0, which is no segments, really, straight, and I could go all the way out to 45 degrees, which is ridiculous, and anything in between. So if I wanted to do a 12-segment ring, well, then I set this triangle, which is a 30 degrees per side, 60 degree included, and I set this in like that. There you go. See, it's nice and tight like that. Then you just tighten these guys down. And the whole concept here is the angle from here and here. Everything that you cut is just dictated by this angle. There is no thing that you have to worry about. And you set your stop. You would set your stop. And I'll show you how to do it. I'll cut some for you. But you set your stop on the table. And you just basically run them through. Now you have to run them through differently than you would with a sled. If you're familiar with sleds, I've seen some YouTube sleds where they just have basically something built like this, but with a single arm, and there you flip the piece. When you cut it, here you don't. You cut it here, you cut it here, you go back to here, you go back to there. You move the piece, and you always leave it in the same orientation. And I'll show this to you in motion, because, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. But this works great because this gives me a nice, tight, it slides nice, but there is no shake in it. And when you use your triangle or whatever you're using to get your angle here, then I'm going to clean up these slots a little bit more too, so and radius here. But anyway, it's great, and I'm going to show you how it works. Okay. Okay, to give you a quick demagogy how it works here. Just to see, we set this with our triangle, correct? And this stays in, and this locks in our slide here. And as you can see, there's nothing in the way of any side-to-side slop. Even if you feel even just a millimeter, then tighten one of your screw Joe's, and that should take care of it. Just like that. Make it a little bit more snug. Okay, so we have our sled set up. Now, I just have a piece of plywood here. It's not true in here, but it's true here. Just to give you a demo. Now, when you're using this is unconventional. When you're using a single rail sled, you cut, then you flip, and then you cut, and then you flip. You don't flip this. So in order to make sure we have all our right sides and we're not doing anything wrong, what they say to do, they usually mark the top with the squiggly line like that, and they mark one side with a straight line like that. Alright, and that way you don't get confused should you have to stop in mid-draw or whatever. The first cut you put on the top rail, and you just do a clearance cut just to get the right angle. So here we go. Now some will say put sandpaper on your rails to hold this better. I guess you could if you want to, but this is holding up pretty well. So you see, no flipping, right? We go right up to our stop. I really should have my stop back, but this is just a test, right? So we'll do our, there's a 1, come in, there's a stop, there's a 2, come in, I'm going to make a good stop on you know, that's my next project. Oh. Five. If it gets in there like that, maybe it's something to get in, right? I was just distracted, so I'm looking at my marks. 6. Yes, 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. And lastly, basically, well, it's going to be on a there's our 12 segments, which this angle of, included angle of 60 degrees, which is 30 degrees per side. And all we're really going to do, no sanding on any kind of machine or anything like that. Just see this little burr, especially with plywood. All I'm going to do is to knock that down. And we'll show you the ring. And here's the result. This is just held together with a rubber band. No hose clamp on that. Look at that. No sanding machine, nothing like that. Alright, all I did really is hit the edges on 100 grit paper to get the burr off. I even made another one. I was just so thrilled with the way this works. Now this is plywood, but it's a great, I love when I see something on YouTube, because YouTube I think is great, and people who share their information on YouTube are great, and Jerry's one of those great people. I hope someday somebody will think I am, but you know, I love it. I love when you look at it and you do it. Now, I had to design my sled to fit my 14-inch bandsaw. So the two links that you see in my description, the one link is Jerry Bennet and his website, and he explains this whole thing. The other one is what I felt was one of the best instructional videos on how to build this thing. Now, this guy's building it for a full-size table saw, so you want to keep that into consideration if you're building it for a smaller table saw or a bandsaw. But yeah, this is the way to go. This is the way to go, and that's a 12-segment ring. And this product of best effort that took me a better part of a night to try to, you know, get right. I cut, you know, scrap pieces of wood to try to make sure the angle was right, and that's the way you end up. So definitely get yourself a Wedgie sled. Go to Jerry's company. I think it's called Seg Easy. Yeah, Seg Easy, I think it is, like easy segment. And he sells various angles of these. They look like plastic that a cutting board is made out of. And they slide in between here, so you can get a number of segments from small you could do 48 segments, you could do, you know, 6 segments. It's up to you, and everything in between. You just put your triangle in there, lock it in, and go to work. Just make sure that your screws are adjusted so you have nice zero clearance fit in there, and go to town. Cut it up, even on a bandsaw. Of course, you want your bandsaw tuned properly. Do not forget that. I don't have the stock blade from this Porter cable saw. I don't have the stock guides from this Porter's cable saw. Okay, I upgraded my guides and I upgraded my blade. I think this one is a Timberwolf or something like that. But all right, so if you set up your machinery right, there's no reason why you need a table saw to do this. If you have a bandsaw, that'll work. So hopefully that gives you a little information. Make one of these guys. It's not hard to make. God, most of you guys that work with wood probably even have a router, and that makes that a lot easier. So again, I sized mine down. His design is 12 by 14, but again, that's for a full-size table saw. I have a 14-inch bandsaw with a I don't know, 16-inch table or something like that. So that's that. And I love when I do a project and it comes out right, and the product that it's supposed to do, or the task that it's supposed to accomplish, comes out great. And that's an awesome ring. There's no sanding, there's no split rings, there's none of that. Just put it together, glue it up, and, you know, hit this and this on a sander, if you will, when you stack them. Outside of that, you're ready to go. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.